What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Are the Dbacks inevitable? And which team would you rather face in the postseason, the Dbacks or the San Diego Padres?
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we'll talk about that Game 1 victory over the Colorado Rockies, why the Dbacks have to take advantage of their schedule right now, and which team would you rather face in the postseason, Dbacks or Padres? Thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. We are getting dangerously close to 1,200 subscribers, so please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks. But now let's get into the podcast and let's talk about that Game 1 victory over the Colorado Rockies, because there was a moment where it's like, are the D-backs really, after beating the Phillies and the Cleveland Guardians and every team we've discussed since June 29th, D-backs have the best record in baseball since June 1st. They've looked the best. They've played the best. Everything has been going good. There was a question for a second, just a hint of doubt. A hint of doubt. Are the D-backs really going to lose to the Colorado Rockies? No. The D-backs are inevitable, as we saw the answer backs come alive in the later innings, despite the D-backs being down multiple runs and losing their superstar Ketel Marte in the game. It did not stop the D-backs, as they put up 2 runs in the 6th, 2 runs in the 7th, and they escape the Colorado Rockies with a 1-run victory, and the D-backs continue to look inevitable. Was there a little bit of doubt? Yes, but should there have been? No, because the answer backs, ever since this thing has gone rolling for the D-backs, whenever they are down late in a game, whether it's 1 run, 2 runs, we've even seen 3 runs like tonight, 5 runs in the past, like, it does not matter. This D-backs team is able to just chip away, put a couple runs here, put a run or 2 in that inning, and then all of a sudden take the lead. And they were able to do it again against the Colorado Rockies, who are not, one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, but still, they are still a group of professionals. They were still up 3 runs at one point in this game. They were up 4-1 at one point against the D-backs, entering the bottom of the 6th. And the D-backs still, it was kind of like Team USA versus Serbia. Yes, you always felt like the Americans were going to beat the Serbians, but to see the, Team USA down double digits at halftime, you're like, okay, they're going to have to pull their big boy pants up and make a comeback in that game. And that's what Team USA did, and that's what the D-backs did tonight. They, of course, scored all of their runs late in the 6th and 7th inning with 2 outs on the board, because that is what makes this D-backs offense so good. Whether it's 2 strikes, whether it's 2 outs, they never give up on an inning. And I think when you look at this D-backs offense since June 29th, that has been one of the biggest factors as to why this team keeps cooking, because a lot of times when there's 2 outs on the board, you just feel like, let's just concede the inning. This D-backs team never concedes anything. If you get a single with 2 outs, you feel like there can be a rally around the corner, and that's what we saw in this game. And a lot of it was courtesy of Jake and Josh. Not Drake and Josh, Jake and Josh, Jake McCarthy and Josh Bell, because both those guys were incredible for the team. Both those guys had 2 hits. Jake McCarthy continues to be automatic with runners in scoring position. He came through in the 2nd inning. He came through in the 6th inning. Jake McCarthy now in his last 3 games has 10 RBIs, and in his last 5 games has 13 RBIs. His slash line now in the season, 306, 377, 456. He continues to play at an all-star level, and it's been so important for the D-backs this year, as we've discussed, with the outfield not living up to their standard and not even having a Lourdes Gurriel who is day-to-day. Jake McCarthy just continues to rake for the D-backs. He bats out the number 5 hole today. He's been batting out the 2, been batting leadoff. It does not matter where you put Jake McCarthy in the lineup. He is producing out of every slot. When he comes up to the plate, there's just a level of confidence he has in himself. And you know what else? Being at the game tonight, D-backs fans are super confident in Jake. He gets the loudest reaction. He gets the biggest applause when he goes up to the plate, especially when there's runners in scoring position. The whole stadium is already on their feet because they know magic is about to happen with Jake McCarthy at the plate. And he's been so good for the D-backs this season and so good for the D-backs during this recent stretch of great play as well. And then Josh Bell. When you see Christian Walker go down, it's super upsetting. You're like, how are you going to replace best defensive first baseman in baseball? How are you going to replace a guy on pace for maybe 40 home runs, maybe 110 RBIs, something close to that? Well, you go out there and get Josh Bell at the deadline, who again, another good game, 2 extra base hits, 2 huge doubles, gets the run scoring going in the 2nd, gets it going again in the 6th, and he was just incredible. He's been so incredible for the D-backs ever since being acquired. And also kind of, I want to know if this game smelled a little fishy to you guys, because when I saw the Rockies go to their bullpen in, where the D-backs scored the 2 wild pitches in the 7th, you go to the bullpen, Jock Peterson at the plate. You would think maybe if you're the Rockies, you go to a lefty with Jock Peterson at the plate. No, they stayed with a righty, and then he immediately comes in and throws 2 wild pitches that score the next 2 D-backs runs. Maybe they were trying to blow that game against the D-backs, because what else are the Rockies playing for? Kevin Newman did a great job as a last-minute replacement for Ketel Marte, but I want to know, why is Ketel Marte playing if he's not 100%? It should have been obvious. I mean, Ketel Marte, after 1 at-bat out there, had to be taken had to be taken out the game as precaution, because he just did not look right running down to first base after just 1 at bat. And it's like, how does he get cleared to play Monday's game if he can't even finish 1 at bat? He can't even get through the 1st inning. How did anyone clear him to play for that game then? Not a good look on the D-backs. Not a good look to treat your best player, to put him out there when he's obviously compromised. I don't like to see that. Brandon Pfaadt, he had an interesting start. Was he good? Yes. He gave the D-backs some depth, pitching to the 7th, 11 strikeouts, really was working them early. But he also was tagged a lot. Felt like the Rockies, despite a lot of strikeouts, also weren't being fooled. They tagged him for a bunch of hits. So it was an up and down start for Brandon Pfaadt, who ends up giving up 4 earned runs, 7 innings, 11 strikeouts, and a home run allowed. I guess you'll take it. He did just enough to deliver the D-backs the win. And then, of course, we get the light show in the 9th inning. Justin Martinez comes out to a crazy light show, and he gives up the single, but then nice double play by Kevin Newman to double up the runner on first. D-backs get the win. They keep stacking up wins, and they need to, as the Padres and Dodgers don't seem to slow down in the standings as well. And for the D-backs, they are currently in the lightest part of their schedule for the rest of the season, and we'll break it down in segment number 2. But hey, if you're looking for any supplies, then I suggest supplyhouse.com, because get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouses.com's free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from the free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. And if you want to bet on the D-backs to take down the Rockies in game number 2, then why not place a little wager down on the D-backs money line on FanDuel Sportsbook? Because I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is a same-game parlay. Give me the D-backs money line. Give me Jake McCarthy over on total RBIs, and give me Josh Bell over on total bases. When that hits, it brings a big smile to my face and some cash in my pocket. And if you want the same results, then head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right. Let's get back into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. If you like the show, please follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for the personal account, or look up Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram, for the podcast handle. And also follow me on Instagram, Millard.Thomas123 for the personal Insta. But now let's talk about the D-backs schedule right now, because when looking at this D-backs schedule currently, we are, of course, playing the Colorado Rockies, but the next two opponents also not too bad for the D-backs as they face off Tampa Bay next and then the Miami Marlins right after that. And if you're just projecting the D-backs schedule for the rest of the season, this is the last break the D-backs will get in their schedule for the rest of the year. After these next three opponents, the Rockies, Rays, and Marlins, it gets a lot tougher. Everyone from here on out after that 3-series stretch is basically a playoff team or above 500 outside of when you play the Rockies one more time. And then I guess the Texas Rangers too. The reigning World Series winners are having a very bad season. So the D-backs do play them one more time. So I guess they're another team that's, below 500. We'll see about the Giants. They are teetering around 500 right now, but teams that are guaranteed to be below 500 the rest of the season, at least in the month of September that the D-backs will face, it's just the Rangers and it's just the Colorado Rockies. Everyone else is either fighting for playoff positions, in first place in their division, like they have something to play for, or they're just a good team. That's why when we look at the D-backs schedule right now, they have to take advantage of the Rockies, Tampa Bay, and Miami, because you're never going to get another stretch like this in your schedule for the rest of the season. This is the only time we could potentially stack up wins against inferior opponents. And if you're the D-backs, you kind of need to do that right now. Yes, you've been taking it to the best teams in baseball, the Phillies and the Dodgers and the Padres and the Guardians and the Royals, and you can go on and on. The D-backs have been playing very good baseball recently and been taking down the best teams in the sport. But despite doing all that, the standings have not changed that much. D-backs are secured into a top 2 spot in the wild card, but looking at the NL West, D-backs should be in play for first place in the division, but they can't break away from the San Diego Padres, who stay neck and neck with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then the LA Dodgers continue to win enough games to keep pace as the division leader. And so if you're the D-backs, you can't slip up right now. The Padres are playing really good baseball the last few weeks. The Dodgers built up such a big lead early on that they just have to play, good baseball, not great baseball, if they just play good baseball the rest of the way, it could be enough for them to hold on to the division lead. D-backs playing against these inferior opponents need to stack up as many wins as possible. They've been able to get a lot of series wins, but maybe a couple of sweeps could really help the D-backs go a long way. It's not something that they've done a ton this season. They were able to do it against the Cleveland Guardians, which looked great on the D-backs record, but outside of that, the D-backs don't have a ton of sweeps on their record this season. They did do it against the Washington Nationals to end July. They did do it against the Cincinnati Reds earlier this season as well. So if the D-backs against these inferior opponents can not just get series wins, but maybe get some series sweeps, that can go a long way in these National League standings. And they're not the only team in the standings that have an easy schedule coming up. You look at the Padres and the Dodgers schedule, and it's kind of made for them as well the rest of August. 2 of the next 4 opponents for the Dodgers are also Tampa Bay, and then they get to face the St. Louis Cardinals. The Padres, they still get to play the Rockies, the Pirates, the Cardinals, and Rays in the month of August. So if you're the D-backs, yes, your next 3 opponents look nice. Yes, it looks easy, but you're not the only team in the NOS that has a nice schedule for the rest of August. That's why you can't sit on your laurels. That's why you can't look at those teams and take them lightly, because if you start to lose any momentum, start to lose any games against those bad teams, the Padres will jump you. The lead will grow in the NOS between you and the LA Dodgers. So if you're the D-backs, yes, it's easy to potentially get complacent looking at your schedule and saying the next 3 opponents are a little bit more lax, but the Dodgers and Padres also have an easier part of their schedule right now. So if you're the D-backs, you cannot take your foot off the gas at all. And with so many guys actually down in the lineup right now, looking at the schedule right now, this could be a good opportunity for that D-backs lineup where you can increase the confidence of maybe some of those players on the margins as we enter the postseason. Because as we talked about on the podcast in the past, it's not always the superstars that win you those big playoff games, right? Sometimes it's the Steve Pearces, the Eddie Rosarios, the Jorge Solers. Like, a lot of times it's those role players for you. And so for the D-backs, with the Martes and the Gurriels and the Morenos and the Walkers hurt or out, like, this could be a good opportunity to continue to raise the confidence level of your role players. A guy like Kevin Newman, we obviously see him start to swing the bat really well right now. Jake McCarthy, of course, playing out of his mind. I love the opportunity that those guys are getting. Also gives a good opportunity to the Erods and the Merrill Kellys, who are coming back from the injured list. Let them build up some momentum, I guess, against some lesser opponents, and hopefully build their confidence and maybe work on some things and maybe try some new things out if you're going against some of those tanking teams. Could also be a good opportunity to increase the confidence of guys who have been struggling, like the Dylan Floros and the Jordan Montgomerys. And so for the D-backs, looking at the lax part of the schedule, it's good for them to take advantage of it, to make sure they're keeping pace with the Padres, make sure they're keeping pace with the Dodgers, and also could be a good opportunity for them to raise the confidence level of some of the players on their team as well. So I like this a lot for the D-backs. They need to continue to stack up these wins, because a team like the Padres, they are neck and neck with them right now. And I actually want to pose you guys a question that I saw on MLB Network today. Which team would you rather face in the playoffs, D-backs or Padres? We'll answer that question in segment number 3. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost? With Ibotta, you get cash back on all your purchases, so you can spend more time making memories this summer and less time dreaming about them. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers. It's time you joined the over 50 million users who use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or Apple App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. All right. Let's get back to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, and let's discuss which team you would rather face in the playoffs, Dbacks or Padres, because I saw this question posed on MLB Network, and of the three people I saw on the desk, one person said they would rather face the Padres, while the other two people said they would rather face the Dbacks, and I'm here to say, yes, I know I'm biased. I know I'm the Locked On Diamondbacks host, but I still thought it was kind of disrespectful to say you would rather face the D-backs than the Padres in the playoffs. And then look, I think the Padres are a really good team. There's probably not a person you would meet that has more respect for the Padres than me. They're probably the team that I fear the most in the postseason. But for for everyone else, for the rest of Major League Baseball, for the rest of the National League, which team should they rather face in the postseason? The answer, I think, is clearly the San Diego Padres. If I was a neutral person, I think the scariest team is clearly the Arizona Diamondbacks. Number one, they went to the World Series last year. Like, can we not forget that? The D-backs are the reigning National League Championship winner. And so if you're talking about which team would you rather face in the postseason, I don't want to face the team that just beat everybody else in the National League. For some reason, I think that just doesn't make sense to me. The team that I would rather face is the team that I saw beat everyone last year. Like, I don't understand how that makes sense if you're an MLB analyst. And then not only that, they went to the World Series last year, and then they improved their team in the offseason and at the deadline. The rotation is deeper. You got Erod now. You got Monty now, which is, I don't know about Monty, but let's not talk about Monty. How about Ryan Nelson? He has stepped up in a big way, right? Last year in the playoffs, you had Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and then we didn't know about that number 3 starter. Entering the postseason, we weren't confident in Brandon Pfaadt. Thankfully, Brandon Pfaadt stepped up in the postseason, because if he did not, D-backs were not going to the World Series. Then your number 4 starter was Joe Mantiply. Like, now your number 4 starter is either going to be Erod, probably Erod, could still potentially be Ryan Nelson if the D-backs want to get crazy with it. But now you're going to have Gallen, Kelly, Pfaadt, and Erod as your playoff rotation. Like, that's legit. You improved your lineup, right? That's way deeper than it was last year. You now have an upgrade at third base, not a statue in Evan Longoria. You got Eugenio Suarez, who has been on fire for 7 weeks now. You added Jock and Randall Grichuk and Josh Bell. Like, your bench is deep. Your bullpen, for once, no scrubs. If Dylan Floro can turn it around, there's no bad relievers in your bullpen, especially with Ryan Nelson all of a sudden going to the bullpen. There's really no bad relievers. This D-backs team is deep all over, and they are playing the brand of baseball that made them great last year. They still got the chaos. They still can play small ball, the sacrifice hits, move runners over, aggressive on the base pass. Like, the D-backs can still do all that. This is still a great team. 2 strikes, 2 outs. This is still a really good offense in terms of dinking and dunking. They can still do that, but they also have power now. Jock Peterson, he provides power. Eugenio Suarez provides power. The D-backs did not have that last year. Even a Josh Bell now, much more power in this D-backs lineup. And so when I look at this D-backs team, they already went to the postseason last year. They already went to the World Series last year. and then they brought that team back and improved it. How could you not like this team more? They have someone in their bullpen now as the closer who can throw 100 to close the game. Like, they did not have that last year. I don't think Justin Martinez is giving up a home run in Game 1 of the World Series. And the Padres didn't even make it to the playoffs last year. I think, I honestly don't even know. They did make it to the playoffs last year. We know they didn't go deep in the postseason. They're a team that I haven't seen them go that far in the playoffs ever in my lifetime. So I'm supposed to believe in the Padres over the team that just went to the World Series? I don't think so. And let's not even talk about last year. How about we just talk about this year? Despite both teams being great since June 29th, the D-backs are clearly the better team since that date. They have 6 more wins than the Padres since that date, with the highest WRC plus and the most runs during that time. The best Padres player since June 29th has a WRC plus of, let me look it up real quick. I want to get it right because I believe the best Padres player since June 29th has a WRC plus of only 158. When you look at the D-backs lineup, do you know where that would rank on the D-backs lineup? That would be 6. The best Padres player since June 29th would only be the 6th best D-backs player according to WRC+. Just think about that. That's how hot the D-backs have been. Even if you look at pitching, the Padres since the 29th have a 3.79 ERA. The D-backs have a 3.84. The Padres are doing a great job of stepping up with their depth, with their stars out, but the D-backs have even more problems in terms of health. Yes, they have Tatis out and Yu Darvish might not come back, but the D-backs have had more injuries than the rotation, more injuries than the lineup. The D-backs have been way more beat up than the Padres, and they're still out producing them. The D-backs have the best record in baseball since June 1st. They are deep all over their team. I think the Padres, like I said before, are the scariest foe for the D-backs to face. But the rest of the National League, the scariest foe for them to face is the D-backs. If you're the Phillies, yeah, they're more scared of the D-backs than the Padres. If you're the Dodgers, you're definitely more scared of the D-backs than the Padres. If you're the Brewers, you're definitely more scared of the D-backs than the Padres. The team that's the scariest to face in the playoffs overall, I believe, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. They took down the Dodgers and Phillies on the road in the postseason last year. They've been the best team in baseball for over 2 months now. The Padres are the team you would want to face in the playoffs, not the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.